Русские вооруженные силы атаковали границы Советского Союза. Началась Великая Отечественная война советского народа против немецко-фашистских захватчиков. Наше дело правое, враг будет разбит, победа будет за нами.
The enemy will be beaten. The victory will be ours. These words have helped us throughout the war years. These words are Leningrad Symphony of Shostakovich, born in war and which became the music of peace. In Moscow, it's 15:01, and in this hour we're going to hear the famous symphony, which is performed by an international virtual orchestra. In the conditions of lockdown, we were never so close to each other before. Now let us remember our history. Let us talk to interesting people, look at a musical flash mob, and be attuned to the beautiful and become the symphony of peace. The music of the world, the music of peace, our musical project about life and about the world. During difficult times, we want salvation. Now we're celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Great Victory. This is the day of the memory of restoration of peace after global catastrophes. This is the day when we especially feel the responsibilities for the world today, for the world tomorrow, and for the world always. We want to be together. We want to understand one another. We wanted to enjoy the simple things. We want to enjoy the harmony in music and be in harmony with the world. Our project is a sincere and live musical dialogue. The borders, languages, cultures, generations. We know how to be unalike, but to be close. The orchestra is composed of different instruments, while the world is composed of different people. And together we are the music of the world. The music of the world is the live energy of youth and talent, which unites people with the help of art. A bright triumph of life, good, and humanity. The summer holidays, you remember your word. Your friends are playing ball in the courtyard and they're waiting for you, but in your soul you already feel the worry. You feel that there is a danger looming over the world, that tomorrow everything is going to be different, that whatever you're going to do, please don't set aside the violin. Music is stronger than war. It is needed for humanity to at least sometimes forget about the political map of the world. Together, joining us live is Hans-Johann Freim, a famous opera director, an art leader, and the producer of the annual ball of Zender Opernball in Dresden Opera. Hans-Joachim has worked in Germany, Austria, South Korea, Belarus, and Russia. Mr. Frey, how can such a small stage contain the entire world?
Every small stage in the world has only to need a message, a strong message. Culture is uniting the world. Culture is an international language without borders. Culture is the language of peace, and music is the language of peace. So when you have a strong message, a creative idea, you can move a lot in this world. And that is what I appreciate to do. That is my message, creativity with a strong own message and idea. Culture united the world. Thank you.
Dear friends, I want to congratulate you with a holiday that is special to all of us, with the celebration of the Great Victory, the 75th anniversary of which we're celebrating this year. Our brave and valiant people was the main creator of this victory. To all the ex-Soviet republics, the victory over Nazi Germany was a prize that came at the cost of millions of lives, but in this difficult, blood-filled war, our fathers and forefathers were able to protect their motherland and to complete their historic mission in securing the world civilization. It is an important role in maintaining the holy memory of the war and also in strengthening the international solidarity. Art, which does not know any territorial boundaries, does not know national borders, has indeed great, unique, unifying power. The coronavirus pandemic, which has turned into a global challenge for the entire world, is not only a challenge, but a step in order to show solidarity, and is the time for the cooperation of nations. During the Great Patriotic War, music has given strength, has called to arms, and has given hope to people both on the front line and back at home. Instilled with great patriotic spirit, it still holds a special place in our hearts. The Seventh Symphony of Shostakovich, which today is going to be played by the world's greatest musicians, has forever become the hymn of the unbroken, blockaded Leningrad and the symbol of the triumph over Nazism. We bow down before everybody who, with their courage and with their selfless service to the motherland, has granted us peace and freedom, eternal memory and honor to the heroes. A musician and an artist is a person who feels the pulse of the modern times better. He's a person who better understands his own soul and the souls of others, who can explain what is going on there without using words. Moreover, he can influence these souls and clear and cleanse them. And the more times we use this language, the better we understand this language, language of God, the better we become and the better the world around us becomes. And I think that now it is time to switch to this language entirely. Dear friends, the great Maestro Shostakovich, who wrote this symphony, was very close to the Russian people with his music, and we today, even being far away, are still close to one another in these difficult times. We send this optimistic message to you from Venice, and we send you our hugs on the day of victory. To all our friends in Russia, we send the warmest of greetings. I will never forget how important the Immortal Regiment is to us. To all the Russians, we send the warmest of greetings during the Victory Day. With Victory Day. 1941. World War II is going on for 2 years already, and in the citadel of Brest we hear the first shots fired. We see the first lives lost and the first heroes come forth. The adopted child, Petr Klipa, has delivered ammunitions products for the soldiers, and he was called the Gavrocha of Brest. Vera Kharetskaya, a 19-year-old lady who was getting the wounded out from fire and was wounded in the process. Military doctor Vain Maslov has seen enemies approaching the medical unit and has come forth and shouted, "There are no soldiers here, only the wounded." Back in the 19th century, the representatives of 16 nations have gathered in Geneva and have adopted the Convention on improving the conditions of the wounded and sick soldiers. It is back then that international humanitarian law was established, and we have seen the volunteers with the Red Crosses appear. Today, when throughout the 150-year-long history of the Russian Red Cross, we're trying to lessen and stop people suffering. When the entire world is fighting the coronavirus, we're trying to help those in need, and we're stretching a hand of help to all those who have suffered. We are dreaming about a peaceful life, about the health and prosperity of people, and we serve with pride. We serve humanity in order to continue doing what our predecessors did, who were helping the front lines during the Great War. Now, let us remember, today we need a responsible and a compassionate society that is ready to support each other and ready to compassion. Together, we will be able to help. Right now, online with us, we have a renowned Israel cardiosurgeon, Israel Sternik. Mr. Leonid, can you please tell us, do the medical experts of different countries need to unite? I think that definitely the medical experts of different countries, of different medical schools need to unite in the face of what is happening, because the modern conferences, the communication and internet, this all helps this. The fact that we used to travel, the fact that we have a lot of friendship and cooperation going on, this is what we call a global village. So all the doctors need to work together. They need to be aware of what is happening. They need to help one another, and they definitely must not hide their achievements. They need to propagate what they have achieved, and this is necessary. Mr. Leonid, do you think that your profession is heroic. Well, I can't speak about my profession in terms of is it heroic or not. I love what I do. I love heart surgeries. It's a very important part of my life. And of course, I have my family, my wife, my children, but heart surgery is what I dedicate a lot of my life to. And for me, it's, of course, a great stress. Each operation, each sick person, I do this for a long time now, many years, and nevertheless, it's still enormous stress. And sometimes this stress is already something that is heroic. It's very scary at times. I think that a person cannot be a true person without the science, philosophy, science, culture, friends, family, motherland, music, and sports. All this has significantly suffered during the war. The result of this war has significantly changed the destinies and the futures of many countries, including India. We need the science in order to be able to defend. That generation of the USSR has given their lives defending their motherland culture and families. The Russian people and the citizens of many people around the world, including myself, remain and will remain thankful to the veterans and to the citizens who have given their lives to allow us to live a free and prosperous life. I have a tradition. If on the 9th of May I am in my hometown of St. Petersburg, I buy flowers. Usually they're carnations, but as a rule of thumb, there are not many of these flowers in the shops on these days. Then I buy tulips or some other flowers, and I just walk down the central streets of my city, and I just give them as gifts out to veterans. Unfortunately, every year there are fewer and fewer veterans out. But everything always ends the same way, in me trying to approach one of them and express gratitude. But almost always they are stopped by me holding back tears because I just can't get the words out. I tell them, thank you for what you have done for us. And then we just shake hands, we hug. And for me, this is important, and I want my kids to do the same. And I think that when they're going to grow up, we're going to see even fewer veterans, or maybe they may be gone altogether, but we will find another way to do this. It is important to remember and to thank. My great-granddad has gone through the entire war. In 1944, he has experienced such a serious concussion that he had to learn how to walk and how to talk again, how to eat again by himself. But my great-grandmother has managed to nurse him so well that they were later able to give birth to 2 kids, and my great-granddad took an active role in my education, and my grandfather was studying in the post-war Leningrad in the theatrical school. And those people who we find ourselves at the same table, people are surprised. Why do I eat this way? Why do I finish everything that is on my plate up to the last crumb? I think because I had such teachers in my life, like my great-grandfather, like my grandfather, who have taught me to value the labor of others and to appreciate what we have. On the 9th of May, I was 11 years old. I live in Moscow, and I was born there on the street Balshaya Ardynka. This is 1.5 kilometers away from the Red Square in the Kremlin. A direct road from the Red Square through the Zamoskvoretsky Bridge, and then straight away after that we have the Balshaya Ardynka Street. On the 9th of May of 1945, in the morning, when Levitan has announced the order of the Supreme Marshal, and that in the evening we're going to have a celebratory fireworks display in the capital of the Soviet Union, the city of Moscow. Me and my buddy, I was 11, he was 12. Straight away after breakfast, we ran out to the Red Square. And what was going on there? People were celebrating. People were overjoyed. At last, the people have felt that the war was over, that their relatives and friends are no longer going to die. And the weather was a little bit chilly. It wasn't exactly hot. And in the morning, I woke up with a high temperature. The doctor in the clinic has diagnosed a fully fledged pneumonia, and everything seemed like it was a celebration and then a sobering up after the celebration, and the entire country was celebrating, and I as a boy was participating in the celebration. I want to say thank you to all those who was doing the project Music of the World for the fact that we have the opportunity to not only enjoy the amazing music, which is masterfully performed by amazing musicians, but for the fact that we're able to feel the same thing, the feeling of gratitude to all those who have played their role in the victory over fascism. We are all right now in different places, in our homes, in our apartments, but we are together. We're used to the fact that Nevsky Avenue during the celebration days is especially brightly lit and decorated, but we have decided to take out the color on purpose, at least for a couple of seconds, to show you one historic photograph. This is the blockaded, well-known to us, Nevsky Avenue, the Gostinny Dvor. An officer is buying a ticket to go to the music hall, and we found the same place, and now we see the sun, and the soul feels it. I imagine how the tired people were going to the music hall, how for a number of months they were trying to gather the entire symphonic orchestra together. This concert was planned for the 9th of August on purpose. The city knew that the Nazis have already printed the invites to the banquet in Astoria, but in response, and instead, they've received the immortal Symphony No. 7 of Shostakovich. The activity of the Soviet artillery was forced to stop with a preventive strike a couple of hours before the concert. The operation was called Hail, and they were suppressed both by the hail of gunfire and by the music of Shostakovich performed by hungry musicians. A broadcast over the radio was held. Then at the end, we also saw a hail, but this time a hail of applause. The Volkov Cemetery, here are buried the best people from St. Petersburg and Leningrad, Karl, Ilyich, Eisberg. On this memorial plate, we see the notes. This is the beginning of his sheet music, the first scores and bars of the Blockade Symphony of Shostakovich. How can we save water? How can we grow mushrooms? How can we make something out of nothing? Here in the library, many of the blockaded people figured out how to survive. They forgot about the war and the fact that they were starving by reading Pushkin and other classics. They have brought their family archives here to save them from bombings. Right now, each library like this can be found in any house. All we need is access to the internet. But during the war, the libraries have helped to save, if not lives, but then history. But lives were saved by military doctors. Right now, live with us is the Major General of the Medical Services, the Chief Medical Officer of the 40th Army of Afghanistan, the Professor Yuri Viktorovich Nimutin. Mr. Yuri, you have risked your life. Days on end, you have not stepped away from the surgical table during military activities. What heroic actions of the doctors of the past have helped you to stand strong?
I would not like to make somebody stand out today separately. The medical experts of World War II, the front line. At the end of the war, Mr. Rokossovsky, the Marshal of the Soviet Union, said that we won the war with the injured. And in this, there is a great achievement of our surgeons, of our nurses, of our medical personnel. They have been working in the hardest of conditions. They have worked 16 hours and even longer shifts. We have made examples of these people. We have since used them as examples that we could apply to Afghanistan. The science and the knowledge that we have taken from the veterans of the Second World War, we're grateful for them, to them for this. Our conscience is going to be clean when we are going to be able to continue what the veterans do, when we're able to retain their heritage, and we will be able to pass it on from generation to generation. Happy Victory Day, dear veterans. We, as the veterans of military action, are always next to you. We remember about you. We love you. And happy celebration.
There is an opinion that when cannons fire, the muses are silenced. But the history of the Great Patriotic War, the story of the Second World War, proves that that is not so. Great art was created by the great artists of the Soviet culture during the war years, and the voice of art has thundered over the shots of cannons. We can name Eisenstein, Shostakovich, and it's enough to remember the classic songs of the military use in order to make sure this is true. I'm the colonel of the guard, Feofanov Boris Kapitonovich, the fourth generation of resident of St. Petersburg, of Leningrad, of Petrograd, and it is my great pleasure to dedicate my entire 20 years of my life to talking with the young generation. And I see people in them. I see people who can understand and who know their own history. And with the help of schools and other socially important organizations, including our own historic and patriotic social organization of the Nevsky Chevalier Club, it does everything in order for the successes in schools and the knowledge of history and the communication and the conversations, not only with the citizens of Leningrad and Russia, but also with the help of visiting foreign countries and performing their songs in foreign languages. We want them to be able to give a great image of Russia, as I like to call them, the diplomats from the people. This is what I see my life goal as being as of today. You know, we're fighting not because we hate the enemy, but because we love our motherland. And this is the phrase of the great leader Alexander Vasilyevich Suvorov. This is how it has been throughout the entire ages. This is how Russia has led its war. And regarding the Great Patriotic War, this is the greatest, the grandest victory that has never been achieved by any nation, by any country in the entire history of humankind. As was very rightly noted by our patriarch, by His Holiness Kirill, this war was entered by one nation and came out of it as a different nation. God is with us, and He helps us to overcome everything. I really love the poetess Julia Drunina. She was a nurse. When she was 18, she ended up at the front line, and she spent the entire 4 years of the war there. She has very famous lines of her poems. This was her very first poem that she wrote out her first concussion. I have seen the hand-to-hand so often, one time alive, the other in my dreams. Who says that war has nothing there to fear, does not know nothing more about war. And my grandmother, Ksenia Arkhipova-Alfyorova, she knows everything about the war. She is 98 years old, and thankfully she's alive and healthy. She also has gone through the entire war, and as a real frontliner, she's very bright, a very clean, a very clear person with a huge charge of love inside her, love for life, love for people, to all the people who surround her. And this celebration is, on one hand, is always sad for our family. We remember all those who have gone and who are no longer with us. But on the other hand, it's a very bright and light celebration because we were given such a great chance to make our life better. And I think that we have to do this every day. So happy holidays, everybody. Happy Victory Day, with victory among, first of, over ourselves. Dmitry Shostakovich started writing his first symphony, which was later called the Leningrad Symphony, and the Immortal Symphony he started in September of 1941. Back then, he, like many people in blockaded Leningrad, had to hold duty putting out the flaming bombs on the rooftops. In the summer of 1942, and after the world premiere of the symphony, his portrait in the fireman's hat was placed on the cover of Time, an American. Itself was finished by Shostakovich later on the 27th of December in Kuibyshev. On the 5th of March of 1942, the premiere was held in the same place. The success was overwhelming. The next day, the sheet music was sent to Moscow, and it was performed in the Koloma Hall on the 29th of May. Straight away after that, 4 copies of the sheet music was sent to the United States. Its first performance in New York was broadcasted by the radio stations of the USA, Canada, and Latin America to an audience of over 20 million listeners. But most of all, this music was anticipated in the blockaded Leningrad. On the 2nd July of 1942, at great risk, the sheet music was brought there. In the large symphonic orchestra of the Leningrad Radio Committee, only 15 people remained, while they needed over 100. The musicians were gathered from all over. They were taken off the front lines. They were sent from hospitals. The conductor, Karl Eliasberg, was brought in by a sled, very weak from hunger, and the drummer, Zhuldat Aydarov, was brought out from the morgue, where he noticed the fingers of the musician move. This was indeed a heroic symphony. After a long 16 months, the armies of the Leningrad front, under the lead of Leonid Govorov, have broken the blockade of Leningrad. Today, with us live, we have the nephew of the outstanding military leader, Alexei Govorov. Alexei Sergeyevich, can you please share how did the Symphony of Shostakovich help your grandfather?
My grandfather, who directed the Leningrad front, Mr. Govorov, he understood the meaning of the performance of the 7th Symphony in Leningrad, so his entire efforts and knowledge were directed for its performance to take place. He developed a special military operation which was called Hail, and it encompassed the constant barraging of our artillery, where artillery barraged the enemy, and throughout the entire 80 minutes while the 7th Symphony was being performed, not a single shell exploded in the city. My grandfather himself was present on the concert with his entire presence, showing that everything has been calculated and everything was going to be fine. And the fascists also heard this music through the loudspeakers, and as they have recalled after the war, they were astounded by it. It is then when they realize that they will not be able to win these people. On the other hand, this genius piece has also significantly raised the spirits of our soldiers and citizens of Leningrad. It has instilled the certainty in victory, and I'm completely sure that in its effect, and it's not called the Leningrad Symphony for nothing, it has helped the spirits of our people, and it has helped the victory over Nazis next to the walls of Leningrad.
When a person is moving towards a common goal, it does not mean that his personal life is put on pause or that it is fully dedicated to it. We, on our road to the great victory, still continue to fight, we still continue to fall in love. Some people start collecting items and do and live our everyday life, and this gives us a feeling of peace, and the feeling of peace gives us the hope and the belief that victory is going to be possible. During the Great War, art held a special place, a main role. Each one of the directions of literature, of art, cinema, music, each one of them was instilled with the spirit of patriotism, and each one of the pieces that were made, they were so powerful that they forced people to do the impossible, and they forced to do it for victory, for a common goal, for their motherland. Music accompanies the person throughout their entire lives. Sometimes we don't even notice how during a single day how many different melodies we hear during that day, and how many songs we sing along to. But there is a certain kind of music, the music which you can't not notice. This is the music It has traveled through ages, through times, and it has accompanied people throughout their lives, and it accompanies them at the most difficult situations. This music has saved people during wars, during the times of extreme hunger. And I think that this is the kind of music that today will be able to save us. If we are to talk about the role of art in the human life, it's a very banal thing to talk about, but it is very important because it is the simplest of things that we most commonly forget. In the peaceful time, it is the art is the glue that holds together nations and nations. And during the tough years of war, for some people, it is a straw that a person can grasp to that can help us to not lose humanity. To some people, it's a compass that allows us to find the right direction. For some people, it's an entire war, like a nurse, like a doctor, like the Victory Day. So let us remember this. Let us try and keep this safe. And the more amazing projects like this there will be, the better. Hello, friends. Hello, Russia. I am Ingrid, a singer. I want to congratulate you with the Victory Day. Today is a very important day for you, a Victory Day, and I would like to celebrate it together with you. I wish all the best to you, and especially I want to ask you to hold together during these difficult times, which unite all of us. And then, with our strength, courage, and serious approach to this, we will be able to be victorious. Congratulations, friends, and kisses to you from Italy. We are all unified in this important day for Russia and for the entire world, the day of liberation. When the nation is liberated, it is a new nation. Russia, we are together with you.
I just wanted to thank you for your great courage.
I want to thank you for your great courage and the sacrifices that were brought during the blockade of Leningrad. We admired how resistant you were and how you could fight back. And you know, my father worked with the French resistance during the war, so I know a bit about what is it like to resist when things are bad. And the thing is that it might be a complicated time, it may be bad now for you and for the whole world. But maybe if we're able to stay together and think about each other and send messages to each other, then maybe we can just hold on together. Then maybe that is the most important that we can do for each other. So with that, with so much love, admiration, Jane Birkin from Paris. Великий Novgorod, the Kremlin Square, a fallen monument of millennia in Russian. The occupants didn't have time to take it out. 120 bronze figures of various rulers and scientists are all scattered in the dirty snow. It's an unruly sight for the local people. And only then they started restoring their provisions, communications, and housing. Art is one of the targets of war. They have carried out great paintings, masterpieces, but music is something that you can't take away. If it's been played even once, if it has been heard, it stays in the hearts forever. And today we're once again going to hear the great symphony. The forced lockdown is not an obstacle for the musicians. They can each play from their apartments in their countries. The musicians and us, the viewers, are going to be in a single creative space. Music is the metaphor for life. It wins boredom, it overcomes fear, it instills hope, it births love. But for Christian Yarovi, music is not only a metaphor, it is life itself. The conductor, director, the producer, Christian Yarovin, was born in Tallinn, grew up in New York, and creates for the entire world. His universe is filled with music and vibration, and there anything is possible. It is considered that he challenges the orthodox approach in the classical music, but everything that he does is not a challenge, is his own voice, the unique sounding, which is full of life, emotion, and passion.
If I don't listen to criticism,
you know, I would, but I would also like to have the opportunity to respond to it. In his international orchestra, Christian Yarovi united truly fantastic musicians. The energy of these concerts is unmeasurable. Apart from his own production of international projects, Yarovi works with the most prestigious symphonic orchestras all around the world. Music is the code of vibrations and frequencies that can open access to the spirit of people, and that which I remain certain about is the fact that the orchestra has the mission to using the great tool, the tool of music, to continue to inspire people and to help themselves to release fear and doubt. The Baltic Sea Philharmonic is a unique orchestra that unites the musicians from the countries of Baltic, of the West and East Europe and Russia, with the energy of its founder, who is the director and the musical director. The orchestra of the Baltic Sea Philharmonic goes beyond the borders and unites people. There is no fear, there is harmony. The combination of music, sound design, light, visual art, and human energy creates new dimensions and immerses the viewer into this. Each performance of the orchestra is a unique spectacle. It's a new musical discovery. The musicians don't just do the entire program from memory, but without any foreshow, thereby creating a unique, singular musical art piece and infecting the people with their energy. The Baltic Philharmonic works with the world-renowned artists. They're invited to the most prestigious of stages, and also in this year we're going to see the premiere of the movie Nordic Pass about the orchestra and its director Jarvik Frey. The orchestra is a stage for new composers, musicians, and artists. The orchestra is an experience that one must have at least once in their life. The heroic deeds on the front lines were done every day and every hour. The back lines did the same. In each area of art and science, everywhere, we had our own Shostakovich and our own Seventh Symphony. The British mathematician Alan Turing, together with his group, has created one of the first ECMs in order to decipher the enemy codes. Jacques Cousteau and Émile Gagnan have developed a safe diving suit with an open breathing system. The scholar Abramyov has come up with a partisan bowler, a very simple thermogenerator based on a bowler with water. The partisans in the woods could charge their radio sets with it and even get electric light using it. Zinaida Yermolina has managed to discover the Soviet analog for penicillin, and how many nameless heroes were there who continued to work despite the exhaustion and hunger. To all the Russian people, I send these notes of victory, because this was an impressive battle with Nazism and fascism. And to fight in the name of freedom is always worth it, because this is the most important thing for every person who is a guest on this planet that we call Earth. The strength of the people is in its spirit, in whom there is faith, in that the life perceives. The love, the freedom lives. With happy Victory Day, our veterans, our winners. Well, you know, I'm a boy who grew up after the war in the village of Krukvo, where we have the unknown soldiers memorial, which was transferred into the Kremlin wall. And I know that in the blockade Leningrad, we used to play football. I know that Shostakovich wrote part of his great symphony while being inside the blockaded Leningrad. And I am thankful and grateful to the people who have won the war and who have stopped this plague. And the most important, I bow down to the people who have gone through the war, who have survived, and who still are well today. During the blockade and after the war, I have lost everybody. I've lost everybody who was close to me. And that includes my friends, the people who I went to school with. And when, after half a year, I have returned to a vacation, I have not found a single person alive out of those who I used to talk to before the war. My military path has led me through the Battle of Kursk, through the both left bank and right bank Ukraine, through Poland, through Germany, the day of victory was met by me in a state of trance. In 10 days, in southwest Berlin, I've lost the closest comrade who I was together with during the entire war. And he was shot at point-blank range right in front of my eyes. So for me, Victory Day is, how do I say this, it's both tragic and heroic. And I did not shoot in the air, and I stopped everybody who was doing that, and I told them that you don't need to shoot. Haven't you had enough of shooting yet? You know, I couldn't allow myself to do such displays of celebration, and you know, with huge concern and huge worry for those people who have not made it through the war. To me, this is the state that I have ended my presence on the battlefront. In order for me to be able to live today freely and to breathe freely, my uncle Nikolai, my aunt Zinaida have went up to Berlin, and on the 9th of May they jumped up like children. They were happy. It was their victory, and only the granddad Ivan could not be happy together with them, because such war, it has not yet been completed. And you know, on 9th of May we have the tradition to cheer together with the wall and drink vodka. And this is what he did on 9th of May. He said, he whispered that this is our common victory. I'm with you forever. So for all of us, for all of them. Shostakovich was able to really display the horrors of war, the horrors of suffering, but what also is totally ununderstandable is his prophesizing of the great victory at the end. Here, Shostakovich is a true prophet. So how could, seeing all these horrors when the enemy was at the gates of Moscow, how could he feel the victory? This is a great prophecy of victory. How many kilometers has the steam train of the victory has made? How many people were fed to it as fuel? And how many countries were put down as rails? The victory is held not by the weapons, but by the nobility of the goal and by unification. We have already learned how to live through altercations, through the military times, and we must never forget about mutual help and mutual aid. Now, joining us is Mikhail Simonyan, an outstanding violinist, the president of culture and educational programs. It is his team that has come up with the project Music of Peace, Music of the World. Mikhail, please, can you share, how did you come up with the idea of this project? How did it appear?
Good day, dear friends. Thank you very much for joining us on this great day. The idea of this project came to us in 2019. I wanted to very much, understanding that we are on the verge of this great celebration, I wanted to get as many of my foreign friends as possible. I wanted to invite them to celebrate this great celebration together, which is a great celebration for all our people. And initially, we wanted to hold concerts on open platforms, and we already had certain agreements in place to do this. And in a number of cities where we had great events over the past take place. And one of the most large-scale projects within the Music of the World is the concert which would be held on the territory of the Zvonitsa Memorial in Belgorod region. But taking into account all the current circumstances into account, we had to change the format swiftly, and we had to switch this project to online. I would also like to say that the project Music of the World is being conducted in the support of the International Music Marathon, the Great Songs of the Great Victory, and we are very happy that we have an opportunity to support these projects. What you're going to hear right now is perhaps indeed unique. Unique in the sense that it was organized so quickly, unique in the sense how well the technical team executed the project. And I know it was very difficult, but I'm very grateful to all my colleagues, to all my friends, to all my colleague musicians who so quickly got together and basically in just a couple of days were able to record and to play that amazing piece that you're going to hear right now. To conduct this project is going to, the director is going to be Christian Jarvig, and it's going to be performed by the Baltic Symphonic Orchestra. It's a great group which includes musicians from people from the Baltic region next to the Baltic Sea. They're amazing musicians, and it's good that we have managed to shift away from the language of politics. And today is going to be just friendship. The music of Dmitry Shostakovich, the Seventh Symphony of Leningrad, it has united the people during the blockade. It has united the entire world. And today, once again, you're going to hear young, amazing musicians from different countries that have also been united by... Dear friends, allow me to congratulate you with the 75th anniversary of the great victory. Allow me to wish you all the very best, and for our today's project that is called The Music of the World would remain in the world, the music of peace, it would remain in peace and in the world. Thank you. All the best.
Today, charity is not an easy thing to do. To support young artists, students of musical schools, to promote academic music on an international level. This is aided by a lot of contacts with the young artists, but also a very tightly knit connection with already established figures in international culture. The multicultural projects, the visualization of performance, all this is done by the foundation Open Sea. The modern classical concert is a polyculturalism and sometimes is even larger than just the music that is being played. An air journey is also an art. It's an art of overcoming the gravity of Earth, the fresh energy and the fearlessness of the experiment. These are the values of the foundation. Open Sea classical music is always current. It's like an open nerve of our modernity. This is why now it is very important to perceive art in all its possible forms and dimensions. It's way past midnight. 2nd of May, 1945. The first Belarus front gets a radio message. We ask you to cease fire. We're sending negotiator to the bridge of Potsdam. Throughout his entire life, Yuri Levitan has cried only twice during live broadcasts. Once when he announced victory, and when he announced the first trip of a man to space. Even now, during the day of victory, we, just as him, have the right to shed tears.
La 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 la.
festa, notti di gloria, nella vittoria la vita risplenderà.
Congratulations on Victory Day, everybody. Those terrible war days are far behind us, but they forever left an imprint in our hearts.